Let's get a check of some of the top business news stories. Brian Quinn from the Business Desk is here. Welcome to you, Brian. Let's begin with a new development with regards to the fight against corporate tax avoidance. What more can you tell us?
Well, Tom, 130 nations have signed on to support a global minimum tax, according to the OECD. Under the deal, multinational firms, including U.S. tech giants like Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook, would have to be taxed at a rate of at least 15%. Well, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen hailed what she called, quote, a historic deal that brings the world one step closer to ending the race to the bottom for corporate tax rates. Clear divisions still remain, though. 9 countries involved in negotiations declined to sign on to the accord, including Hungary and Ireland, where many U.S. tech giants keep their European headquarters. Still, French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire called it the most important tax agreement of the past century, and he vowed not to give up on the stragglers. Here he is.
C'est un accord ambitieux.
It's an innovative agreement.
Le plus important conclu depuis un siècle. Je poursuivrai mes contacts avec mes homologues européens.
I will continue reaching out to my European and international counterparts to convince the last reticent countries, and I will ask them to make all the necessary efforts to join this historic agreement, which now largely brings together the nations of the planet.
Checking in on the day's trading action now. Wall Street kicking off the second half of the year mostly in the green as weekly U.S. unemployment claims came in Thursday at their lowest number since the start of the pandemic. Airlines and energy stocks gaining ground with the Dow and the S&P up around 0.25 to 0.4%. NASDAQ lagging behind, though, as Amazon and Alphabet shares lose ground there. European indexes getting a good start to the second half as well, as new data out Thursday shows manufacturing activity on the continent growing at its fastest rate ever in June. London up 1.25% at the close, Paris up around 0.7%, with Frankfurt up around 0.5% to end the day. Next, Nissan has announced a major expansion of its electric vehicle production in the UK. The Japanese car giant already has an EV plant in the northeast English city of Sunderland. More than 1,600 new jobs are expected to be created there as Nissan launches its next-generation all-electric small SUV. The company is investing £1 billion along with its Chinese partner Envision AESC, which will build a giant battery factory to supply around 100,000 vehicles per year. The project's backers are calling it a vote of confidence in the British car industry after years of uncertainty for its future following the Brexit vote. The UK has planned to ban the sale of gas and diesel cars by 2030. Here's Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
By increasing the number of batteries we can make in the UK, increasing the number of electric vehicles we can make, getting those economies of scale we're going to need so that the price of EVs comes down and they become more affordable for families than petrol vehicles and diesel vehicles. And that will happen, I think, far quicker than people are currently expecting.
Well, here in France, new dads can now take 4 weeks of paid paternity leave. That's up from 14 days previously. The policy won't be cheap for the government, with Social Security picking up most of the tab. On whether or not to take it will also remain a dilemma for some fathers, especially those in more precarious work contracts, as Selena Sykes explains.
Some good news for new fathers in France. The government is doubling paternity leave to 28 days, up from 14. The bulk of the cost, an estimated €500 million a year, will be met by France's social security system. Like with maternity leave, employers cover just the first 3 days. Fathers have been able to take paternity leave in France since 2002. Around 70% currently do so, though there is a stark difference between employees on long-term and temporary contracts. According to a 2018 report by the General Administration of Social Affairs, 80% of fathers on long-term contracts take paternity leave, compared to just 47% on short-term ones. Many face a financial dilemma, as the payout from Social Security can be far lower than their working salary. It's capped at just over €89 per day. French President Emmanuel Macron's government said it hoped to reduce this inequality by introducing a compulsory week of fully paid paternity leave for every new father. Companies that violate this will face a fine of €7,500. The reform puts France up there with the most generous countries in the EU. Nearly half of member states give fathers less than the 10-day minimum fixed by legislation, which has to be enforced by August 2022.
That's it for business. A little baby daddy bonding time, always good for the early development, Tom, I think.
Absolutely. I think it's a very good argument indeed.
I'm no child psychologist.
Double the time off. There you are.
Not bad.
Thank you very much indeed, Brian Quinn, for an update on all the business goings on. Let's turn our eye now to what's happening in the world of sport. John Emile Jamin is here.